Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Jeanelle. Slade. Two separate grizzly bear attacks leave 3 Montana hunters injured and shaken, but alive.
Tonight, wildlife experts trying to determine if one bear is responsible for both attacks in the Gravelly Mountains south of Ennis yesterday.
Same location, the attacks just hours apart.
MTN's Cody Boyer was in Ennis earlier today, tracking down the details.
Two separate grizzly bear attacks in almost exactly the same location, hours apart. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks say it all happened up there in the Gravelly Mountains near Cottonwood Creek. According to them, if those hunters hadn't been exactly prepared the way they were, this could have been an entirely different story.
While the bear was in the process of attacking one guy, the other guy sprayed him and sent him on his way.
It's a situation that bears a warning. Some of what you see might be considered graphic. It's also a situation that those living near the Gravelly Range, like Terry James, say is terrifying to imagine.
It was a little of a shocker. They were still in shock as well.
Terry speaks from experience, having met 2 of the hunters involved in yesterday's attacks. While the hunters couldn't speak with us, they did tell us we could use their photos, including this one taken immediately after it happened.
They were dressed in hospital clothing, which was a little odd to start with. He had a pretty big gash in the back of his head that you couldn't see that was bandaged, and the other guy had injuries around his groin area. But they were in good spirits.
Both men had received medical attention and were just looking for some clothes. But in just a few hours, this would happen again.
Later that day, around 6:30 p.m. in the same general area, 2 other hunters were heading north toward Cottonwood Creek and also encountered a bear.
Only one hunter was hurt in that attack. Morgan Jacobson with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks says the area has been locked down to be investigated.
It's unclear whether this was the same bear in both incidents or 2 different bears. That's another part of the puzzle that we're looking into.
Both Shedhorn owner Rob Galantine and the FWP agree. Both of the hunters that stopped into Ennis, bruised and bandaged, were prepared. It may have saved their life.
Things have changed so much in the past 10 years, 20 years. You know, where you just wouldn't want to hike the Madisons or the Gravellys or any of the mountains without bear spray.
Looking back at yesterday, it's safe to say having bear spray can make all of the difference, as well as having a buddy. But you also need to know where your bear spray is. You can't be rummaging for it at the last second. You should be able to pull it out, break the lock on it so you take it off for safety, and then make sure you aim low so when you do hit the bear, you hit it where it counts.
While the 2 from Monday morning want to spread the word, so does Terry. Mother Nature is powerful, but this was an example of how to survive the worst.
We need to tread lightly on their ground and respect these animals.
In Ennis, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Thanks, Cody. Now, until wildlife officials determine if it's the same grizzly in both attacks, they are closing the area to make sure that everyone stays safe.
All right, we want to turn to the weather now. Bob, the rain started falling out there today, and so did the temperatures.
Yeah, it's a little kinder, gentler than the bear story, but it's not bad. Let me show you what we have here. It's time for our weather check, and what we're going to do here is just show you that this is what we had today. We had 1/1800ths of an inch of rainfall today. That takes us to 126 on the month and 15.18 inches of precipitation for the year. So obviously ahead of normal in both categories. Now let me show you what's going to happen here. As you see, here's our high-resolution forecast model, and the building's right in the center of your screen there. You'll see some showers off to the west earlier this afternoon. Then those things continue to push their way into the Billings area. And then now tonight about 6:30, we'll still see some spotty showers move in through here, but they'll continue to push their way in towards the eastern edge of the state. And eventually by 9:30, the showers will be gone. And then look at this. By the time Wednesday gets here, we're looking at generally high pressure moving in, sunny skies, and it looks like mild conditions until Thursday when another system starts moving in, probably about 5 o'clock, when we could start to see some more rain moving in on Thursday evening. We'll have more about that coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Laurel police asking for your help tonight to identify a man who pulled into the Taco Bell drive-thru, pulled out a gun, and demanded money last week. Take a look. The robbery suspect captured in these images ordered a drink from the Laurel restaurant just after 8 o'clock Thursday morning.
He then showed a gun, handed a note to the employee demanding cash. The man was driving a newer maroon Dodge crew cab pickup truck with a grill guard and running boards. You're asked to call Laurel Police if you've got any information on the suspect or the crime.
In an effort to find schools that don't have a one-size-fits-all approach to learning, the U.S. Deputy Secretary of Education is in Montana today. Mick Zase is on an 18-state tour and stopped at elementary schools in Pryor and then here in Billings at Skyview High School. Skyview Principal Deb Black and School District 2 Superintendent Greg Upham led the tour today. Zase saw technical classes like family and consumer science, woodshop, and business finance. He also learned about School District 2's new career coaches and their efforts to jumpstart our students' futures.
We know that students vary in their motivation, their talents, their interests, their aspirations, and it makes no sense to put every child in the same classroom, expect them to learn the same material on the same schedule, pretty much in the same way.
Montana, we're not a cookie-cutter approach to education. Every student is unique. Every school experience that student has is unique, and we need to make sure that that happens in Montana.
Now, the secretary added today that it is a lie that a four-year college degree is a ticket to the middle class.
The Laurel High School held a groundbreaking ceremony for the new weight room and sports facility today. That building, located on the east side of the school, will be a weight room with potential to add an extension for a wrestling room. The superintendent of the Laurel School District, Linda Filpulov, says a private party came to the school with a $400,000 donation to build the facility. Total estimated cost of the building is roughly $750,000, and Filpula says about 85 to 90% of that has been raised from the same private donor. Now, the superintendent says it will double the number of kids who are able to take advantage of the weight room, along with a place for community members to go.
Well, currently our weight room is really in a storage area. The classes are around 150. We can pretty much double our capacity for kids for weight classes. Because right now we have to turn kids away. So, and it gives kids and the community, because it'll be open for community use, something to do. And then the building right here will be designed to add on to it in the future, potentially a wrestling room.
Filpula says the project is expected to be completed in January of 2020.
Well, business is booming in Billings West End now with another major retailer about to set up shop.
Q2 has learned that outdoor retailer REI is building a new store at the corner of Shiloh and King Avenue. According to permits filed with the city, the company plans to build a 23,000 square foot building on the northwest corner of that intersection.
REI is one of the country's largest outdoor co-ops with 18 million lifetime members and 155 stores in 35 states. Those include stores already in Bozeman, Missoula, and Kalispell.
Well, Phase 2 reconstruction efforts at Sperry Chalet in Glacier National Park are almost complete after flames tore through the iconic structure 2 years ago.
Tonight, MTN's Marin Sue takes us along to show us how the remote magic of this historic site is also the project's greatest challenge.
12 miles round trip is quite the hike, but it's worth it when Sperry Chalet is your view. Perched at 6,000 feet in Glacier National Park, this is the view people have been waiting to see since the historic Sperry Chalet burned in August of 2017. But this is the part you don't see, the 6-mile uphill hike to the chalet. And this is where my day starts, at the bottom of this 3,000 vertical incline, 1 foot in front of the other. Slowly is how myself and building crews got to Sperry Chalet. As we huff and puff up the steep trail, Site Superintendent TJ Lashley says what the biggest challenges of working at 6,000 feet are.
Anything that comes in either comes on your back or pack mule train, or my favorite is the helicopter operations.
And the helicopter with materials comes only once in a while, sometimes once a week, sometimes every other week. Lashley says the work is so grueling, 2 separate crews rotate shifts. Every 8 days they switch.
8 days is a pretty long stint. Wouldn't be anywhere else, but you don't have your hotel room, your TV. You can't get away from any of the other guys, any of the other workers. You're up there for 8 days straight.
And along the way, I can still see some of the damage the Sprague fire left behind. The fire grew over 16,000 acres and severely damaged the chalet. But now crews are in phase 2 of the multi-million-dollar rebuilding efforts. At 10, I'll give you one of the first looks inside the chalet and tell you what you can expect to see once it's complete. In Glacier National Park, Marin Sue, MTN News.
And join us tonight at 10 right here on Q2 for a close-up look behind the scenes as crews continue to rebuild Sperry Chalet.
Well, there's more news from across our state on tonight's MTN 9 o'clock news. Visitors continue to stream into Glacier National Park this year. A look at final numbers and how the park fared in August.
But first, still to come on tonight's 5:30 news. Amid thousands of lawsuits, Purdue Pharma is in bankruptcy court after it was found liable for its role in the opioid crisis.
And later in sports, meet the next star of an Eastern Montana football family as tonight's Athlete of the Week.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle, Slade, and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.